Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC 249, Ferguson versus Gaethje. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card and our first prelim fight. So in our first fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, Ryan Spann versus Sam Alvey. So look at this fight right here. I think Alvey's about, 6'1", yeah, probably 6'1", and Spann is about 6'4". He'll have the height, the reach, the youth, the athleticism. I think he's a more technical striker. I think he really could beat Sam Alvey like anywhere this fight takes place. I think Sam Alvey does have a puncher's chance, and you got to worry about that. Really, I think Spann can really just, like I said, beat him everywhere. Sam Alvey, I mean, he could beat him at distance, he could beat him close. They'll still got to avoid the power, but Sam Alvey's a kind of a plodding striker. He's lost to a lot of lower tier fighters just by them moving, because he walks like he has two left feet, and he just slow. People just avoid him and just tag him and then move, or people just blitz him and knock him out. Because he's slow. He's a slow counter fighter. Has a very weird style. So I just really think Ryan Spann should be able to beat him. Alvey does have a chance for the little knockout upset or the knockout potential of all time, that puncher's chance. But really, I'm going to lean to Ryan Spann in this one pretty clear. Like I said, Alvey got a chance, but not enough to really lean on or really talk much about. Like I said, I just think Ryan Spann just picks him apart and knocks him out in the second round. So in this fight, I have Ryan Spann via second round TKO. Now on to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Rosa. So this fight is actually kind of a little bit interesting. Is it a lot interesting? Not really, but a little bit interesting, definitely. Charles Rosa was out of the UFC, not out of the UFC, but he was not competing for a couple years. I think injury or career or something. I'm not going to really look into it, but he hadn't fought in a little while. Then he came back and fought Manny Bermudez, who was supposed to be this superstar or this had all this potential, but then started to skid a little bit. Only lost 2 fights, but he missed weight both times. That's why he was cut. He lost 2 in a row, and he missed weight twice in a row, maybe even 3 times in a row, but he lost twice in a row, so they cut him. But he came in and fought this talented fighter and was able to submit him. I think at first he was getting picked apart on the feet, then he found that armbar from his back. He might have used his toes in the cage, but nonetheless, he got a win over such a talented grappler, such a talented fighter, Manny Bermudez, so certainly raised his stocks a lot. Bryce Mitchell on the other side, an undefeated fighter. Even though he did lose in the house, that don't count, that's exhibition. He shows good, that he just shows... He's a gritty, grinding young fighter. He goes out there, he'll scrap, he'll go out there, he'll scramble, he'll go out there and fight till the bell, from the start to the finish. And he's like one of the fighters that's going to be high paced, not really fearing nothing out there, fearless. So really, just kind of get to the point of this fight. I think Charles Rosa is obviously the more experienced fighter. I think he's the more technical striker, maybe the more technical grappler. But I think Bryce Mitchell is the better wrestler. And I think at this point, Mitchell having that undefeated record and the way he fights and goes out there and just... Like, he did show a lot of improvements in the last fight. It wasn't just him being some hard-nosed wrestler or some type of thing. He actually was out there looking very technical in the last fight and submitted a very solid fighter with a twister. But I'm still going to say Rosa is probably the better overall grappler. But I think Mitchell's work rate is going to be what wins the fight for him in this fight. So I'm already saying Mitchell's going to win, and I think it's going to be based off his work rate. He's not the best striker, not the best this, not the best that, but he is still a solid fighter. I think he'll go out there and he's going to push the pace, get some takedowns on Rosa. There's going to be a lot of scrambling. And I think really Mitchell's going to outwork Rosa in this one. Rosa will be more experienced, more technical. I think Mitchell's almost 10 years younger than Rosa. And he's going to be out there fighting with that youthful fighter, that undefeated mentality, and just be working nonstop and grind out a very close decision over Rosa. It's not an unfamiliar territory for Mitchell to grind out these close fights against another solid grappler, another solid fighter that can challenge them in these areas. And I think he can pull it out. It's really close, but Mitchell has certainly proved it more so than Rosa that in these tight, close matchups, he can do that extra thing he needs to do to win these decisions. So in this fight, I got Bryce Mitchell via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Vicente Luque versus Niko Price. So these two are fighting again, and they fought like 3-4 years ago, maybe less, maybe more. By the way, they fought before, and Vicente Luque just pretty much chewed up Niko Price and spit him out in the first round, I think within under 2 minutes. And I really don't think much has changed. Niko Price, has he really been consistent in piling up wins? Has he shown any improvements? No, he's still pretty much the same fighter. No real improvements, no change in success. He's pretty much been in the same spot. Whereas Vicente Luque, he rose up the division. I think he has got did he get a top 15 rank? I'm not even going to look into it. Is that big of a factor? But he did. It was certainly worthy of being top 15, top 10. He was around there. I think he was about to get a shot, and Neil Magny got injured. So yeah, he was roughly around that. He went up. He actually changed where he was 4 years ago, whereas Niko Price is roughly the same fighter, same place. Nothing has changed. He's won some, he lost some, hasn't really moved at all. no improvements. And Vicente Luque has shown some improvements, but it's not like he's improved all that much either. So it's really like the same fight again. Niko Price will have a puncher's chance, but in every area, Vicente Luque is better. Grappling, striking, he beats him in every area. And I think it might go a little bit longer. Niko Price might try to do something, like, try to change something up. It'll be different from the first fight a little bit, because obviously history doesn't repeat exactly the same every way. But I think roughly the same. A little bit later, but the same outcome. Vicente Luque dices him up, drops him. And I think this time, instead of TKOing him, he submits him. Or maybe he did submit him the first time, by the way. I'm predicting a submission. Chews him up, spits him out in the second round, and submits him in that second round. So, in this fight, I have Vicente Luque via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Uriah Hall versus Renato Jacare Souza. Or you can say Jacare Souza. I rarely ever call him Renato. I call him Jacare. I think everybody else does. I don't think nobody in history of anybody calls him Renato. So, yeah. Uriah Hall versus Jacare. So let me just get to the point of this one. Uriah Hall has always been a talented striker, been amazing talent, but has really shown no true improvement. There's definitely some small improvement you got to appreciate. Like in his last fight, his submission defense was much better in his last fight, but still takedown defense wasn't the best. Ability to get back to his feet wasn't the best. But I guess he just was able to defend the submissions well enough, or defend the grappling. Was Antonio Carlos Jr. so well? I mean, not so well, but decent enough. And then he was able to do damage on the feet. He really lost the fight. It was it was a gift for him, but he did look defensively sound on the ground. But could did a much better job to get back to his feet and keep doing more work on his feet. But he spent more than half that fight on the ground, and not in the offensive position. He was on defense on the ground. So I don't know how he won the fight, but they gave it to him. I guess they felt that breaking his nose and this and that was good enough, and that Junior didn't really get any submission attempts off, or no real good ground and pound. By the way, he still got control like a whole round. You can't win a round not doing anything. You're getting control the whole round. But still, like I'm saying, he got a gift. So Uriah Hall, like a lot of these people I've been predicting on this card already, he has a puncher or kickers or kneers chance, but his takedown defense is still questionable. So I think Jacare can still take him down. Jacare is a better grappler than Shoeface. But will Jacare burn himself out trying to get submission? Is Uriah Hall's submission defense that much improved? Possibly, but I just still think that Jacare can handle him on the feet with pressure and mixing takedowns and really just dominate him this fight. I don't think Uriah Hall has shown anything significant improvement. Matter of fact, he's been looking like he's been on a downtrend for the most part. People have been picking him apart in the striking. At first it was just grappling, and now it's been striking. So really, I just don't see Uriah Hall has he has that knockout potential, but I don't see him submitting him. I don't see him getting a decision unless another one of those gifted decisions. I just really see Jacare just dominating this fight, and I see him getting a second round submission. So in this fight, I got Jacare Souza via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Carla Esparza, former strawweight champion, the very first women's strawweight champion, versus Michelle Watterson, the former Invicta Atomweight champion. So we got two solid former champions facing off against one another. This is a pretty interesting fight right here. Carla Esparza has been winning, but her performances haven't been the most impressive. Michelle Watterson has actually been showing some improvements in her career, but again, when she gets up to the upper echelon, she kind of fades. Like, she gets all the way up there and then gets destroyed. Well, in her last fight, she didn't really get destroyed because she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who just had an amazing performance against Weili Zhang, a losing effort, but amazing performance. And she did put on good performance against Joanna. Did she win? Was it like it was a super close fight? No, but she had some good attempts on the ground. Did some hold her own in the striking up until kind of the last round. But for the first two rounds, she was all right. Which, like I said, she wasn't super competitive, but she was in there, and she wasn't giving Joanna no easy fight. And Joanna had to work and had Joanna some dangerous positions. So we've been seeing Michelle Watterson improve. She's been getting her strength and conditioning has been showing. She hasn't been getting thrown around. At first, when she came in there, she was kind of on the weaker side. So when she fought chicks, they would just manhandle her. And now she's really becoming a true strawweight and not getting manhandled out there. Her striking is getting a little better. I think she's getting a little bit more weight behind her strike, so she's not just looking like a fighter that's out there just throwing these little light strikes. People are really feeling her out there now, so I think that's going to be hard for Carla Esparza. And with Watterson's improved grappling, improved strength, and already having solid grappling, I think she can certainly cause Carla Esparza some trouble. And Carla Esparza kind of fights square. She's a shorter fighter, fights kind of square. And Michelle Watterson fights very long, so she'll already have the height and she'll have the length. And I'm really going to lean to Michelle Watterson this one. I think it's a close fight. Definitely could be some takedowns and a lot of scrambles. But I think Michelle Watterson has just shown to be more versatile. Carla Esparza is pretty much some light strikes. Like, she can tag you up a little bit, get some takedowns, get some control. That's really about it. Or at this point, she's not even really getting. But yeah, lost my train of thought for a second there. But basically, Carla Esparza, I see her is a little bit more limited, what she's doing, a little bit more predictable. Michelle Watterson a bit predictable. She always on a little side kicks and little stepping kicks. So she come in like on that like straight little line or that little diagonal or whatever you want to call it, that little karate style wide stance. They both kind of predictable, but I think Watterson ranges just much more, and she's a much better striker, or at least technically a much better striker. As far as MMA goes, sometimes that being technically better doesn't always mean the better striker. So don't get it confused there. But I really feel that Michelle Watterson can take advantage of her height, her reach, and that styles of striking. And then in the grappling, Michelle Watterson good enough off the bottom and on top to really cause Esparza a lot of issues. I still see it's a very close fight. I see Esparza getting in on some takedowns. I see some scrambles. But ultimately saying that the grappling is going to be pretty close, but the striking isn't going to be that close, and that Watterson is going to at least be somewhat clearly being the striker landing the more significant strikes in the more strike. Whether it be like 1, 2, or 3, or about 5. Like I said, I see this fight overall as close, but I feel like the biggest edge is going to be in the striking aspects, in the actual significant strikes landed. So in this fight, I'm going with Michelle Watterson. So in this fight, I have Michelle Watterson via decision. Now to our co-prelim headliner we have in the heavyweight division, Olenik versus Fabricio Werdum. So the former heavyweight champion of the UFC, former Strikeforce heavyweight champion. Or was he the former Strikeforce heavyweight champion? I don't know, I'm forgetting stuff right now. It doesn't matter. We're just more so predicting what's happening now. But that guy has been around, and he has many accomplishments. One of the greatest heavyweights in MMA history, easily. Probably top 5, if not top 3 or top 4. He's up there. You got Olenik, like 1,000 fights. But let's get more to the Pacific. So Werdum has been out for about 3 years, 4 years, maybe more. But he's been out for some years because of a positive drug test. And now he's coming back. Will I factor in the drug test? Will I factor in him being out for years? I'll factor in him being out for years. But the drug test, like I said, I'm going to predict off what I've seen. Not whether like him without drugs or, these speculations like, oh, he's not going to have drugs, so he's going to be so slim. He's going to be this, be that. I can't predict that. It'll be a waste of time trying to predict that. Maybe betting wise, you could just bet it because you don't have to really actually try to sound smart saying that. You just go out there and bet, you throw some money at something. But really, as far as Werdum, I'm just going to go off what we've seen from him. So between him and Olenik, Werdum has the height, he has the reach. I see him as a better striker. Olenik's striking certainly isn't sloppy, but it is kind of sloppy. He be winging strikes out there, but he has power. He knows how to land him. He's awkward in everything he does, even his jiu-jitsu and grappling. And yeah, he can definitely be confusing out there, but I feel like Werdum has a pretty good jab, some pretty good striking. Also, he has some pretty good clinching. We saw Overeem able to destroy Olenik in the clinch. I think Werdum could do similar. Obviously, he's not Overeem in the clinch, but he certainly is nobody to play with in the clinch. A lot of very good Muay Thai clinch, knees to the body, knees to the head, and really could chew up Olenik. I think overall in the striking, I just think Werdum's a much cleaner striker. Werdum does have some defensive holes at times, some real big ones at times, and Olenik does have a good puncher's chance. But really, I'm going to lean to Werdum. He's just been out for a while, definitely gonna be a little bit rusty, but I still think he's the more accoladed grappler. I think that will show in the fight. He's the more proven fighter in the UFC, and that will show in the fight. I think striking is overall much more cleaner than Olenik. I think he really can just pick Olenik apart and just be the more technical fighter in every aspect of this fight. And I think he starts to chew him up over the course of the fight. I don't think he try to go for no big finish early on or no rush anything. I think he's fights a technical fight. I think he might get close to a couple submissions, but overall, I just think this fight is a fight that goes to decision. Like, Werdum will have his moments. Olenik might have 1 moment or 2 moments in this fight, but I really think Werdum, once he sees that he really can't get the finish, or he has to really sees the finish is not really there on a plate for him, he's not going to try to rush because he's been out for a while, so he's not trying to get caught, not trying to make any mistakes. So he's going to fight a clean technical fight, but not the most risky fight, but still threaten and try his best to get the finish, but not force it, which is going to result in a decision. Will it be a one-sided fight? Probably not competitive, but clearly Werdum winning 2 rounds, if not 3 of the 3 rounds. So in this fight, I got Fabricio Werdum via decision. Now to our prelim headliner we have in the welterweight division, Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis. So these two fought some years ago. Now they're fighting again. Pettis won the first one, and now they're fighting again. And at this point, when they first fought, they both were kind of shining at the moment. And now at this moment, they're both kind of dulling at the moment. So they're both kind of in the same position. Like when they first fought, they were kind of the same position. Now they're fighting again. They're in the same position. Like first they were on wins. Now they're coming off losses and they're trying to gain steam. At first they were both on wins years back and trying to, get to that next level, get to that title shot. Now they're just trying to stay relevant and get back on the winning side. So mirroring their first fight, but in different parts of their career right now. So really want to look at this fight, nothing has really changed. I think Cerrone got a little bit more mentally tough. Well, his last fight says otherwise. Well, we really haven't been seeing him break as much. Well, I don't know. It's like he's changed and he hasn't changed, because you might say, oh, he beat Ally Quinton. He beat a solid boxer type striker with good grappling and boxing. He usually loses those guys, but Ally Quinton is an exception, because Ally Quinton fights squatty and Cerrone beats up squatty fighters. Like Ally Quinton leans heavily on that lean leg and be hunched over, so he makes himself shorter and smaller, and Cerrone could chew up that lead leg, front kick in the face. So he made himself, stylistically wise, made himself somebody that Cerrone could beat by the way he fights. So really outside of that fight, really in no fights, Cerrone hasn't really beat his kryptonite. And Anthony Pettis really hasn't beat his kryptonite either in none of these past fights. They won some good fights, been on stuff, but most so, Cerrone has beat the people that he usually beats. He can beat those little squatty wrestlers that only haven't developed striking yet, because they can't take him down. He has good jiu-jitsu, and he can pick them apart on the feet because their striking isn't involved. Or he beats those guys that are lesser strikers than him, or he has huge height and size or reach advantage over. Or people have grappling, pretty much people that will have deficiency in some areas and they can't really implement the other area on him thoroughly. So that's usually people he beat. And I don't think Pettis is not really that style. I think as far as this fight stylistically wise goes, like I said, they're both on the lesser side, but kind of get to the point more so with this one. Anthony Pettis is still faster. I think his boxing a little bit better than Cerrone. And Cerrone, he'll still be the bigger guy. Maybe pack a little bit more power overall between the two, but Pettis faster, quicker, more creative out there. And Cerrone right now, usually at this point in his career, in his on his streaks, when he's losing, they usually give him a guy like that maybe stylistically he should beat, or maybe a guy that isn't really up at his level just yet. And then he gets on a winning streak, and then he starts beating good guys. But at this point, it's like he's getting another hard fight and not really getting a chance to rebuild his confidence. And right now, he's coming off 3 consecutive knockout losses. So I don't think his confidence is the best. It's a fight too quick. I think that's going to favor Pettis. Pettis has been losing, but he ain't been getting really battered like Cerrone been getting. He hasn't been getting knocked out since he's been getting submitted, maybe beat to decision or wrestled. So they both been taking some beatings, but Cerrone's been definitely taking the worst of the beatings. He's been getting concussions. So I think Pettis can be fresh out there, be more fluid, and really be able to beat Cerrone to the punch, beat him to the kick. Still a competitive fight. I think Pettis going to try to go out there and go for the quick finish, knowing that Cerrone's a slow starter and seeing other people do it to him. But he's going to realize he's not those people like he did against Nate Diaz. He'll try to go out to be impressive, but Cerrone's not going to fall over for him. But Pettis still going to go out there, maybe first try to come out there with a flurry, or not a flurry, but go out there intense for the first, minute or two of the first round. And when he sees Cerrone not folding like he did for other people, he probably going to go back to a more outside, moving, kicks to the body, kicks to the head, mixing in overhands, and going back to a more on his toes Pettis style to beat Cerrone to a decision. Not the most impressive fight. Probably one of those kind of fights that kind of boring. Big names, but a boring fight. And Pettis beats him to a decision. Be one of close, not close, but not a wash type fights where Pettis just kind of semi-coast to decision. It's kind of points fights him to decision. We'll definitely try to go for the kill here and there, but he's not going to go out there looking for no war. He's going to go out there looking for a win. And he's going to be able to beat Cerrone to a decision. So in this fight, I have Anthony Pettis via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the prelims of UFC 249, Ferguson versus Gaethje. And as always, thanks for watching.